Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Having a Mentee Be with Sarah and Kim. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Kim, and today we're here to talk about emotions.
Ew.
Yeah.
We'd like to start by clarifying that we're by no means mental health experts. This is our own individual takes on our own mental health challenges because we've both been dealing with mental health since we were young adults.
All right, Sarah, let's spill the tea.
How's the tea today, Kim?
The tea, well, I don't know. My tea is probably frigid today as well.
Okay, I don't really have any piping tea today.
I don't either. My tea is apathetic.
I guess there have been some developments in my case study. I don't even know what to call myself at this point. I feel like an external observer.
Yeah.
But
so what's your tea?
My tea is I had my intake at OSU and it's more hurry up and wait. So I've got 2 weeks on the wait list before I can actually start my inpatient, outpatient, whatever this hospitalization is.
And they couldn't have put that in an email?
Couldn't have put it in an email.
You had to drive all the way to their office for them to tell you that?
I sure did.
So what did they say? Were they just like, oh, hello, you're here. You have to wait 2 weeks. Okay, bye.
No, it was actually a 2-hour intake. And
okay.
So it was definitely worth the time. And I drove a different way this time. I did not go on the freeway, did not have a panic attack, did not collect $200.
Yes.
So that was good.
It is the way you told me you went is much better. That's the way that I go to get to work. And the traffic is a lot better.
Yeah. Even at the parts where there were traffic, it was still like...
I think it's because they just did construction there. It's like opened it up. So the traffic isn't as bad.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. And then, so I'm on a wait list. I'm going to start in 2 weeks. But I guess I'm starting to feel better.
That's good.
I had to drop off paperwork at work and I ran into my boss's bosses. And you know how I've been feeling like everybody's mad at me. The world is caving in.
Kind of scared. Yeah.
Yeah. They were so nice and so supportive. And my physical symptoms have almost gone away.
That's awesome.
I know. And so now I'm like feeling like I can heal and
like where you're at a point where you can maybe actually make some progress instead of just surviving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
That's got to be a good feeling.
It is. It's nice to only feel sick to my stomach sometimes. Only.
Only every once in a while. You ate some rotten pizza, maybe. You're on the verge of food poisoning.
Oh, dear. I did just clean out the fridge and found some very suspect things.
You're not actually depressed. You just ate rotten spaghetti. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I actually asked my therapist today. I was like, so was this just all in my head? Am I actually okay? And she was like, oh, my gosh.
No.
Have we not ever talked about mental health? And I was like, oh, yeah, right. My bad.
Yeah.
So what's your tea, Kim?
I don't really have much tea. That's what I meant. It's cold. It's not very spicy at all today. I went to therapy today, but overall I've been doing pretty good.
Scale of 1 to 5, how are we doing?
1 being bad or good?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say 1 being like the depths of despair and 5 being the top of the world.
I would say maybe like a 3, like somewhere in the mid. You know, like I'm feeling okay.
Mid is good.
I'm not feeling like top of the world, but no depths of despair over here either.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So on today's episode, we are talking about feelings, aka emotions.
Yes.
Kim, when you think about emotions, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Evil.
Okay.
I do not like having emotions.
Did I ever tell you the story of when I went to therapy for the first time and I was like, I don't do feelings?
Yeah. You last time you were kind of talking about how you were like, yeah, I just put them in this little box.
Yes.
They don't exist.
Yes.
See, mine's the opposite. I don't put them in the box, and maybe I should, and I just let them control everything, and then it ends badly for me. Yeah. What about you?
Yikes. Feelings? Ew.
Yeah.
The first word that comes to mind is ew. Like, there's a reason that I don't teach little kids. Like, little kids have very big feelings.
They do.
Which is not to say that big kids don't also have feelings, but big kids can regulate their emotions and you don't have to deal with the emotions themselves as much.
Yeah.
They scare me. So maybe scary.
Yeah, I think that's a good word, scary. My emotions have never done anything for me except for get me in trouble, I feel like.
So, like, speaking of that, like, how did your family deal with emotions when you were a kid?
So when I was a kid, it was very much like you don't have negative emotions were a no-no. Kind of like what you were talking about like how you don't go around little kids because they have very big emotions and you know that that's hard for you to handle. So like my parents were just like shut it down. Like we weren't allowed to have emotions. There was no talk of self-regulation. There was no talk of like resilience and sitting in emotions and learning how to deal with emotions.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was none of that.
We would never sit with our emotions.
Oh, no. It was like somebody yelled, like you got sad or upset about something and somebody yelled at you to stop. And if you didn't stop, there would have been a consequence to that.
What kind of consequence?
Probably physical.
Really?
Yeah, because my parents were acting on their emotions, right? So, like, for people who were saying, don't have emotions, that was probably the thing, right? They weren't able to regulate their own emotions, so how are they going to deal with the emotions of others? They couldn't.
Yeah. Okay. I think about that a lot when I think about my kids and if I'm like emotionally stunting my own children.
Yeah.
Because I don't deal well with feelings. Because we think about, I don't know, I think about how I feel and like what I accept as emotions in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to accept my kids and love my kids exactly the way they are. But I think sometimes my struggles with my own emotions impacts my parenting.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel the same way about it. Like, that's one of the things I feel like I talk to my therapist about that a lot is like that I feel like I am a bad parent sometimes because I don't want to do the same thing to my child that I feel like was done to me, which is, and I don't mean that to like that something very horrible happened to me. I more of mean like my parents did not have, no one taught them how to self-regulate, so therefore, how were they going to teach someone else to self-regulate? And I struggle with self-regulating, so am I doing a good job of teaching I feel like I'm trying, but I don't know if it's hitting, and so, and then anytime that I don't do a good job of that, and maybe I'm really angry and, like, lash out at my daughter, because that does happen.
Do you apologize?
I do. I'll go back and apologize.
See, that's progress, right?
It is, but doesn't mean I feel any less guilty about it. And sometimes it's very hard to apologize for something because, like, I don't know, like, I kind of was taught, like, you don't admit fault. Instead, you get defensive and then find a way to pretend like you knew what you were doing the whole time. So you don't take guilt. You don't take, like, I will own the guilt internally, but you don't ever say that you're guilty for stuff. So apologizing for me, that was a huge thing for me to have to learn how to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I used to, whatever. I apologize compulsively.
Yes.
So much so that in the past, my husband has told me that sometimes my apologies are meaningless because I apologize too much.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's like, the best indicator of a true apology is change. So don't say you're sorry 500 times. Just stop doing the thing. And I was like, oof. But when we talk about emotions, like, I don't know. I grew up in a family where my parents withheld emotions as punishment. So, like, if I was in trouble, my parents would withhold love.
Yes.
And that would look like...
It was conditional.
Yes. And so, like, I wouldn't get a hug if I wanted a hug when I was upset.
We didn't give hugs in my family. No physical touch and no using the L word, Sarah.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh, yeah, for real. To this day, I have problems with saying I love you. And my mom and dad started saying it to me on the phone, like, before they hung up.
And you're
just,
like,
randomly,
what is happening?
And I was like, yeah. And I talked to my therapist about it. I was like, it makes me hyper uncomfortable. And so we had to talk about why that was. But anyway, sorry, you were saying.
No, it's okay.
In your family, they withheld. So, like, you didn't get a hug.
Yeah. So I would be told, like, I don't even know how they would tell me, but, like, it would be communicated to me somehow that I had done something wrong. And until I had atoned for the thing that I had done wrong, positive emotions, like love, like approval, like the things that kids crave, were withheld from me.
Was that expectation communicated to you, or did you just have to guess?
Sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. So
they would blatantly say to you, like, until you repent of this, we're not going to give you any attention, or something to that effect?
They would say something like, until you've proven that you're sorry, I can't have a relationship with you.
Oh my God, that's freaking horrible.
It was a little traumatizing. It was really hard as a teenager.
Well, yeah, because it makes you think that every relationship you have with somebody is conditional on your actions, right? So then you start thinking, I must please everyone if I want anyone to love me.
Right.
If I want anyone to have any kind of appreciation for who I am as a human being.
And then you become hypervigilant.
You do become hypervigilant, yes.
And you just want everybody to be happy with you. And the minute someone shows a minute amount of disapproval, you freak the frick out.
Yeah, you lose your crap because you can't handle that feeling. You have no resilience. Like I was saying, you have no ability to handle the thought for even 5 seconds that somebody might be mad at you. And let's be honest, probably 99.9% of the time, you're reading into that anyway. They're not actually mad at you. They just got a wedgie or something and they don't care anything about you.
Yeah, it's so, like, it's like a burden to carry it around that, like, and I think this goes back to what we've talked about before, like, when I feel some type of way, I feel like the whole world is mad at me.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we feed into that ourselves, right? We get into this like negative self-talk where we're like, well, the world is against me. And then, I don't know, something happens like your husband didn't pick up his shoes or something. And you're like, well, that's because he hates me.
Or he forgot to pick up the child.
Or if he got to pick up the child and you're like, the world is ending. Or your dog doesn't let you give him or her a hug. And you're like, oh, the dog hates me too. Everybody just hates me. And it becomes this spiral of, you're not worth anything and you have no value to anybody.
I don't know that I've ever felt like I don't have any value to anybody, but I just feel like I've let everybody down. Like, I am not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, I know my kids physically need me, but I don't know sometimes if they emotionally need me.
I've had that thought before. Like, I remember one time having a conversation with my therapist where I said, this is very depressing, but I said to her that, like, my daughter was the only reason that I was living because I knew she needed me. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do when she, like, grows up and moves out and that kind of thing. And she's like, yeah, we need to work on that then.
Yeah.
Like, before that happened.
You should definitely work on that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a while ago that we had this
You're in a better place now.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
This was like a few years ago where we talked about that. But I do remember saying that of like feeling like that she didn't like that the only reason that I existed was for her. So like recognizing that like she needed me, but not necessarily feeling like I was necessary. If that makes sense. I feel like that's kind of contradictory, but
no, that makes sense in my brain.
Yeah.
So when we talk about feelings, like my thought is always like, ooh, I don't want to talk about feelings because like feelings just have gotten me in trouble so much when I was a kid.
Yep.
But like when you talk about emotions, there are some emotions that are more socially acceptable than others.
Yes.
Right?
Or in our brains that we perceive as being more emotionally acceptable.
Or acceptable to ourselves.
Yes.
Like what?
Well, anger. I know we were talking about that earlier. Yeah, anger.
Happiness.
Well, and see, I don't even know about... Because you put on a happy
face?
Yeah, I guess that's
masking,
true.
right?
Yeah.
You're
putting on a happy face. Yeah, I would say that's accurate, yeah.
And I was just thinking about this, but like, why, to me, other emotions other than anger and happiness, I don't like to admit that I feel because it makes me feel weak.
Same.
Like, I cannot...
I hate crying.
I hate crying.
I hate crying so bad. I will avoid it at all costs, which my therapist said is bad because crying is therapeutic sometimes.
I used to refuse to cry.
Same. Well, I'm kind of in that, in that right now. I hate crying.
I am currently in a phase of life where I sit in my chair and cry for like a couple of hours a day, so...
My therapist says that's therapeutic. So no, I'm just
apparently
kidding.
this might
Probably
be why
not at that quantity.
It's a breakthrough, Kim. It's a breakthrough. This is why I'm feeling better.
You're flooding the living room. It's therapeutic.
I'm also dehydrated, but we won't go there.
Hey, drinking water, it's supposedly therapeutic.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I drank 2 32-ounce tumblers of water yesterday.
And peed 56 times.
Sadly, no, which might tell you something about how hydrated I am.
You must be very dehydrated.
But yeah, I was super proud of myself. And I like told everybody that I saw. I was like, look, I drank 2 of these today. 2. Do you see this? I drank 2.
Stop looking for exterior affirmation, Sarah. Tell yourself you did a good job.
Good job, Sarah. Good job. I know. But there's always that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? You said about the acceptable emotions. Is it also, well, you said anger and happiness.
Anger and happiness. Yeah. Because I think like, am I terrified all the time? Absolutely.
Oh, same.
Like, I feel like as a person who has an anxiety disorder, I feel like fear and anxiety are my baseline.
Yeah. Oh, I know
But
what you mean.
I don't want to actually admit that to a lot of people because then they'll be like,
You're crazy.
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, like, that fear of, like, like, for me, what that looks like is constantly walking around being afraid of what everyone else thinks, feels, and the thing is, like, what I've kind of learned through therapy is that, like, that fear is a fear that fear of not being enough. It 100% is
Yeah.
based on what I think of myself to be true. It's not anything that anybody else did. It's me being afraid that I am somehow deficient. So, like, I remember
And it leads to perfectionistic tendencies.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I remember I don't know if I talked about this already. I remember one of the things that my therapist had me do was she said, okay, take this core belief that you have about yourself, which it was that I am somehow incompetent. And
You're one of the least incompetent people I
Okay,
know. So
well-
that's a double negative, but you are one of the most competent people I know, Kim.
Yeah, well, I was afraid that I was not. And so I didn't trust my own judgment. And I felt like I was having, like, I had imposter syndrome. Like, I didn't earn any of the things that I had gotten in life, that it was just luck that I happened into them.
This reminds me of a meme that I saw today.
Yeah.
Where it was like, when that feeling when you're like, everything is hard, I can't do it, everything is hard. What about this thing over here that you do really well? Well, that doesn't count because it's easy for me.
Right, yeah. Like, you discredit yeah, exactly. You discredit your accomplishments, or you act like, well, that, that's or you
Or
don't
that was
even
a
say
fluke.
it's easy. Yeah, like, it's not even easy for you. You're just like, well, anybody can do that. That's easy. Anybody can do that thing. But, like, she had me make a not a word cloud, but what's that called? Like, the map where you have, like, something in the center and the things coming off of it.
Like it's some kind of diagram I should know
How
this.
do we not know this? We were both teachers. Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
A brainstorm.
Okay. A brainstorm. Yes,
There we go.
Exactly.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. How did I forget the word brainstorm?
I don't know how I forgot that either. Okay, so she said to write the core belief in the middle, and then to make the clouds, that come out from the middle.
Yeah.
That say all the negative things that I tell myself based on this core belief.
Ooh.
And then she had me turn the paper over, and on the back she said, "What do you wish the core belief was?" And then based on that, what do you wish that you could tell yourself? And that was, I feel like I have brought this example up to everybody I know.
Except me.
Okay, well, that's good. But it was very helpful because I was able to, first of all, vocalize that I had a core belief about myself that I was incompetent. So I was able to put a label on it. But then also to look at, based on this one core belief, I'm telling myself all this negative stuff about myself that I am afraid is true, but want with all my heart to not be true. So it was very therapeutic to walk through, like, what I wish I could tell myself, because then it also gave me, like, things that I had written for myself, like positive self-talk that I could give to myself. Like, instead of telling myself, like, it's a fluke or whatever, you say, like, I went through this training, I'm trained to do this, my boss says I'm doing a good job. Like, you can give yourself
experience in this area.
Experience, I've been doing it for 10 years or whatever it is. Yeah.
So this reminds me of something that, like, I was talking with my therapist about.
Yeah.
And we were talking about cognitive distortions and like the lies your brain tells you.
Oh, we were talking about that today too.
And so she gave me this list called 10 Ways to Untwist Your Thinking.
Okay.
And this reminded, what you just said, the story you just told me, reminded me of two of them. One of them is examine the evidence. Because she said, like, if you feel like something is true, or if your brain tells you something is true, like, what facts do you have to support that?
Yes.
And if all the facts support the opposite, then it's a cognitive distortion.
And recognize that your emotions are not facts, because that's what's on my cheat sheet that my therapist gave me today.
Nice. The other one that this feels like it ties in with it is the double standard method. And I think you and I have talked about this before, right?
What is that? I don't remember.
So that one would be like, how would you treat a friend?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In this same situation? What judgments would you apply to that friend?
Like holding yourself to a higher expectation than you have for someone else.
Yes. Like, be kind to yourself.
Yeah. As my therapist likes to say, give yourself some grace.
Yeah, give yourself some grace. Cut yourself some slack.
Yeah, that's I always think that's interesting to think about, because whenever she So a very common one that my therapist likes to do is flip it to my daughter. So she'll say, like, would you tell your daughter that? And then I'm always like, absolutely not. Like, I love her unconditionally. And she's like, okay, then why are you telling yourself that?
Were you loved unconditionally?
No, not that's exactly what we were just talking about. Absolutely not. It was
Right.
always conditional.
And so you're afraid that everybody has conditions for you because
Yes.
that was what little Kim was told.
You cannot trust that. Yeah. Oh my God. I have to say, I absolutely hate it
Little
when my
Kim?
therapist says stuff like, that's the little girl inside of you. I
Do you
crash against that. Yes, I absolutely cringe. And then this one time she was like, okay, Kim, I want you to think about something that happened to you as a child that you think is a bad thing that happened to you that should not have happened to you as a child. So I was thinking about that. And my therapist was like, okay, I want you to think about that. She was like, pretend it was somebody else. Do you think what was done to that child is right?
No.
And she's like, if you were there in that instance, what would you do? Obviously, yeah.
You would protect that child.
Intervene. Do anything I could to stop it. Yeah, exactly. And she was like, that's what I'm trying to say when I'm talking about you need to confront your inner child and try to heal her because that stuff was done to you. And that really, I was like, oh, gosh, dang it. Now I have to stop cringing because I actually know what you mean now. But
Yeah.
I hated it when she would say that.
Well, and one of the things that we were talking about in therapy today was how things that are done to you or things that you experience when you are in your formative years influence you in your 30s and 40s, right? So like we're middle-aged now.
Yeah.
We're starting to deal with our trauma.
Yes.
Right? And we both had trauma in our childhoods.
I would say significant trauma, yeah.
Yeah. And so like we are doing the work to try to break cycles, to raise healthier children.
Yes.
To do better, right? Because when you know better, you do better.
Yes.
Right? But knowing all of that, when you go back and you think about being a kid, like sometimes you have to think about things that are unpleasant. And sometimes you have to like confront your past in ways that you've tried to forget.
Yes, because they were horrible and hurtful.
Yes.
So you've kind of, to protect yourself.
Disassociated from it.
Maybe disassociated from that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people think, and me, I'm not excluding myself from this, think that like just because you feel a certain way, like makes it the truth. And something my therapist said to me today, I know we keep saying that, my therapist said to me, but
I mean, we're not the experts, right? We're learning still. Yeah. They're the experts.
Yeah. And something she said to me today is she was like talking about how you can't always trust your feelings, that your feelings are just an indicator of how you feel. They're not necessarily facts. And the example she used was like, I could sit here and be like, I'm going to go play the lottery today because I know I'm going to win. I have a feeling, I can feel it in my bones that I'm going to win the lottery. And so I go buy a lottery ticket. Does that make it a fact that I'm going to win the lottery? No. No, it doesn't.
I've felt that way a couple of times and I didn't win. I was very sad the next day. Yeah.
Like, you do have a conscience, but also, like, how you feel about something isn't necessarily a fact. And maybe, I feel like everybody experiences it differently, right? Like, we're experiencing it with, like, feeling like people are mad at us or whatnot. But it's the same principle, right? Being able to recognize that your emotions are not facts. They're just how you feel. They're a thing that happens.
Absolutely. And thinking about that in terms of like kids learning things and feeling things, like it's just, it's crazy.
But like what you were just saying, like instead of telling kids like, stop crying, go somewhere else if you're going to cry or whatever. Like,
which I am so guilty of doing.
I do it too. I do it too.
I can't regulate around unregulated emotion. And so I'm like, my thing with my kids is like, it's okay to feel the feelings that you're feeling, but go feel them somewhere else.
Yeah, I literally say the exact same words. I'm like, you can be sad if you want to. You can be mad if you want to, but you need to go do that up in your room.
I say that a lot.
Yeah. I do too. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because I'm not teaching them how to deal with them, but are we encouraging like self-coping skill, like teaching them to self-soothe?
But we're also not telling them to repress their feelings and stomp it down.
Just to have them in an appropriate place.
And that's so hard because, like, where is an appropriate place to have a feeling? Like, I don't know that there's...
maybe it's not an inappropriate place to have a feeling, but maybe it's, like, an appropriate place to have a big feeling, right? Because you can't go to work and have, like, a temper tantrum.
Correct. And I can't go to work and cry at my desk.
Right.
Like, that's just... it doesn't work.
No.
With how my job works.
And depending on your job, you could probably get in trouble for that. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know. This goes back to that thing about, like, feeling guilty or, like, feeling like we're doing a bad job. And I guess, I don't know. Again, my therapist told me that you are, if you're aware of it and actively taking steps to fix it, that's what's important, right? When you know better, you do better, and that we're trying to do better. And she reminds me that the entire fact that you are going to therapy, that you're making strides to get better, that you have started taking medication, that you are working your hardest means that you're modeling for your child how to do those things.
That's wise.
Yeah.
Right? Because...
I know, and I hate it. And then I'm like, okay.
Right? But
don't tell me positive things about myself.
But I think, one of the things that has been said to me a lot recently is, like, be gentle with yourself, but also be gentle with your past self, because I know we've been talking a lot about, like, when you know better, do better. But if you didn't know better, you couldn't do better.
Yeah.
And, like, you were doing the best you could at the time.
Oh, man, we just talked about that today, too. Specifically about, like, the responsibility of choices.
Yeah.
Like, so, and the example that I used, and I'm not even saying that I know the right answer, but the example that I used was, so let's say that you have a child, and it's a young boy. Okay. And he's raised by an abusive father, and he grows up and is an abusive husband because that's all that was modeled for him.
That's just how husbands are.
Right, exactly. So at what point does it become...
Not really. That's how that person thought husbands were.
I know
just to clarify.
Yeah. At what point does that person become responsible for their choices and their actions? Because...
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, because I would argue, like, you're still responsible for the consequences of your choices, regardless of what was modeled for you. But how are you supposed to know the difference if that's the only information that was ever given to you? And we were having this conversation. It was basically like, do people's actions and behaviors qualify them as, like, a good person or a bad person? So this was kind of like an offshoot of that. But I do think about that a lot, especially in my job.
Yeah.
Like, at what point do we start holding people accountable? At what point do we start holding people accountable for their actions? Like, are we...
I mean, actions have consequences, and society tends to dictate what the consequences of our actions are.
And, like, I think the example I used when I was talking to her, too, was, like, because she has a tissue box on her thing, and I was like, if I'm scared of tissue boxes, right, like, that is my perception of, like, tissue boxes are objectively not dangerous, right?
But they represent crying, which is terrifying.
Okay, yeah. So let's say that I'm like, okay, I'm terrified of tissue boxes.
Okay.
Well, okay, that might be my perception of the reality around me, but objectively, tissue boxes are not terrifying or dangerous.
True.
But if I then decide to go through my house and light all the tissue boxes on fire and accidentally end up burning down my house because of that fear...
that would be expensive, because I'm pretty sure your homeowner's insurance wouldn't cover that.
Yeah, you burn down your house because of your fear of tissue boxes. No, I don't know. I think about that a lot. And I'm not saying I have the answer to it. It's something I think about a lot. How are you supposed to... When you know better, you do better. But if you don't know better, how do you do better? I guess that's why you reach out to a therapist, right? And start doing therapy.
I mean, I guess that's one way, right?
Yeah.
Or, like, you look at people around you and you're like, what is normal? Like, normal doesn't exist, but to a certain extent it does. Right?
Or at least, like, healthy.
Healthy.
But then your interpretation of what is mentally healthy and my interpretation of what's mentally healthy is also affected by, like, how we're raised. Like, for example, if you asked me this question when I was, like, 21, I probably would have told you that having a good relationship with God and prayer, that those things meant that you were mentally healthy.
I would agree.
Nowadays, that is not what I would say at all.
I would also agree. Like, I think a lot of times, like, the more I learn, the more I'm like, so this is a total side note, kind of. I was reading my old journals because I was like,
all right, bust them out. Let's hear it.
oh my gosh. Sometime I'll break
Maybe
them out.
at the end of this, when we get done talking about this, you should open it up and
I will
read
let
a
you.
passage.
Okay, we can, but like
just for fun.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, that girl, she like, and I literally like after I read it, a journal entry, I texted my sister and apologized to her.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, oh my gosh, I do not like who I was as a person at that time. And she was like, be gentle with your past self. She was doing her best. And I was like, damn, that's profound.
Also, that's awesome of your sister to be like,
my sister is like,
to be able to recognize
wise. And has also gone to lots of therapy and is also working on herself a lot and processing our trauma. She actually sent me a meme today that I appreciated that was like, she was like, wow, you and your sister are really close. Thanks, we have shared trauma.
Oh my God, I'm pretty sure my sister has sent me that exact same one. Me and my younger sister, we joke around about that all the time. The other day she posted this thing on her, I don't know if I showed you this. The other day she posted this thing on her Facebook, and my husband just took a screenshot of it because he thought it said got engaged today, and she has a boyfriend, and so he sent me a screenshot of it like, oh my God, did your sister get engaged? And I read it and I was like, No. And then I sent it to her and I was like, me too. Got enraged today. That's me every day.
If you're ever in doubt about how to deal with your emotions, all you have to do is watch a Pixar film.
Yes, watch a Pixar film.
Because Pixar films are not actually films about things. They're films about emotions.
Yeah. All you have to do is shove your emotions into a tiny little box and never feel... No, I'm just kidding.
No. I think we've established that's not healthy.
That's a bad thing. Eat all of your emotions. Again, bad.
That reminds me of a poem by Shel Silverstein where he's like Hungry Mungry.
Okay, I don't know if I've ever heard it, no.
Hungry Mungry like eats everything and then eats himself because he eats the entire universe, and then it ends with, and nothing was left at all. The end.
Yeah. And as we have discussed, emotions are somewhat important, so we don't want to have nothing is left at all.
Don't eat your feelings.
No.
Talk to somebody.
Correct.
Well, that's it for this episode of Having a Mentee Be with Sarah and Kim. We wish you good mental health, and we hope you'll meet us here again next time. Don't forget to like or subscribe or leave a positive review or whatever it is you do for podcasts.
We hope you have heard something in this episode that you have connected with and you've been mildly entertained. If you are dealing with your own mental health challenges, we both encourage you to reach out to a trusted provider or call or text 988.